Quick disclaimer before we start. This video does not promote cheating in games. I don't support using cheats or hacks. This is only a commentary about games that suffered heavily because of cheating. Subscribe. Fall Guys. Fall Guys was supposed to be one of the most innocent and funny online games ever. It was not a serious military shooter. It was not a dark survival game. It was not a sweaty ranked esport. It was a colorful game about little jelly bean characters running, jumping, falling, grabbing, and surviving obstacle courses. Launched in August 2020, it became popular almost instantly. According to developer Mediatonic, the game reached 1.5 million players in its first 24 hours after launching on PlayStation 4 and Steam. Fall Guys became popular because it was easy to understand. You did not need to know complicated weapons, maps, or strategies. You just had to survive the chaos. That made it perfect for streamers, casual players, families, and people who normally did not play competitive games. But then, something started ruining the fun. Cheaters arrived. At first, cheating in Fall Guys almost sounded ridiculous. Why would someone cheat in a silly game about bean-shaped characters falling off platforms? But they did. Players started seeing hackers flying over the map, running at impossible speed, floating in the air, skipping obstacles, and reaching the finish line before everyone else even had a chance. In a normal shooter, cheating is already annoying. But in Fall Guys, it felt extra stupid because the game was supposed to be lighthearted and funny. The whole point of Fall Guys was chaos, mistakes, and laughter. Cheaters turned that chaos into frustration. Game Rant described PC players as suffering from a plague of cheaters, with some matches becoming almost unplayable because of hackers. Mediatonic, the developer of Fall Guys, knew this was a serious problem. At first, they tried to fight cheaters with their own detection system. They also made changes so players would not have to manually report every cheater. Reports said Mediatonic expanded detection, started removing cheaters faster, and worked on blocking cheaters during games instead of only after rounds ended. They also disabled Steam family sharing for Fall Guys because cheaters were using it as a loophole. When one account got banned, cheaters could use family sharing to create another account and keep cheating. GameSpot reported that Mediatonic disabled the feature because of rampant cheating, and Ars Technica reported the same issue, saying cheaters were using family sharing to get around bans. But the most famous anti-cheat idea from Fall Guys was something called Cheater Island. Cheater Island was a secret punishment system. Instead of immediately banning every cheater, Mediatonic secretly tried sending detected cheaters into separate lobbies filled only with other cheaters. In other words, if you cheated, you would not be placed with normal players. You would be sent to an island of cheaters. It was a hilarious idea, and for a short time, it actually became one of the most famous anti-cheat stories in gaming. Multiple reports described how Mediatonic created this cheater-only matchmaking system. Dixarto reported that Fall Guys developers created Cheater Island to punish hackers by putting them against each other. But Cheater Island had a problem. At first, Mediatonic needed enough confirmed cheaters to fill a match. If there were not enough cheaters available, those players could get stuck in matchmaking. Later, when videos of cheater-filled lobbies started appearing online, people watching the clips did not always understand that these were special cheater lobbies. To outsiders, it looked like regular Fall Guys was completely full of hackers. That damaged the game's image even more. Game developer reported that the Cheater Island plan backfired because it started hurting the game's reputation. The idea was funny, but the videos made cheating look even worse to the public. So Mediatonic eventually shut Cheater Island down. Instead of keeping the funny punishment system, the developers moved toward a more direct solution, stronger anti-cheat. Mediatonic announced that Fall Guys would add the same anti-cheat system used by games like Fortnite. Several outlets reported that this meant easy anti-cheat, the Epic-owned system used in many multiplayer games. Counter-Strike Global Offensive. CSGO became popular because it was easy to understand but hard to master. You could learn the basics quickly. Aim, shoot, plant the bomb, defuse the bomb, save your weapon, or clutch the round. But becoming truly good took thousands of hours. That skill gap made the game addictive. Every match felt like a test. If you won, it felt earned. If you lost, you wanted to improve. The game also became huge because of its esports scene, skins, trading, community maps, and ranked matchmaking.
Oh, good! But why? I take that,
Even after Counter-Strike 2 replaced CSGO, the old game still had a strong emotional connection with players. In 2026, PC Gamer reported that CSGO returned with its own Steam page and quickly reached more than 61,000 concurrent players, showing that many fans still cared about the game years later. But CSGO's biggest weakness was also tied to what made it great. The cheating problem was massive. Some players used wall hacks to see enemies through walls. Others relied on aimbots that snapped directly to opponents' heads in milliseconds. Then there were trigger bots, radar hacks, spin bots, recoil scripts, and countless legit cheats designed to look almost human and avoid detection. These exploits damaged CSGO badly.
Is extremely...
Some players felt official matchmaking was the worst place to play because cheaters were too common. In an old HLTV forum discussion, one user even said that if cheaters were someone's biggest problem in CSGO, they should stop playing matchmaking and move to services like ESEA or other PUBG platforms. On Reddit, players have made repeated threads about the state of the game and cheating. One r/Counter-Strike mega thread was created specifically because discussions about CS2 gameplay and cheating had become so common and repetitive. Another Reddit post in r/CS2 described cheating as wild and out of control, with players talking about blatant cheaters, new accounts, spin botters, and the feeling that ban waves only stop the problem temporarily before cheat makers find a workaround. But even though Valve has tried to fight the problem with systems like VAC, Valve Anti-Cheat, which can cancel matches when cheating is detected, as well as Trust Factor, Prime Status in the Counter-Strike era, ban waves, player reports, and matchmaking adjustments, cheating remains an issue. And yet, despite all of this, people still play Counter-Strike because many players grew up with it. Some started with CS 1.6, some with Source, some with CSGO, and now some with CS2. The game has one of the strongest esports scenes in the world. Famous maps like Dust 2, Mirage, Inferno, and Nuke, and a community that keeps coming back even when it is angry. Rules of survival. Imagine downloading a free game, jumping into a match with 299 other players, and thinking, okay, this could be fun. Then you die, shot through a wall from across the map by someone who never even looked in your direction.
An enemy has been slain.
You report it. You go again. Same thing happens, and then you realize this isn't bad luck. This is just how the game is now. That was Rules of Survival. Rules of Survival, also known as ROS, was one of the early battle royale games that blew up fast, especially on mobile and PC. It offered large-scale matches with up to 300 players, squad play, and the best part, it was completely free. At a time when battle royale games were everywhere, ROS gave people something they could jump into without spending a single peso, dollar, or whatever currency you're playing with. And it worked. The game grew fast. But if you know this game, you already know where this is going. Cheating became one of the biggest problems that ate ROS alive from the inside. Players started reporting enemies shooting through walls, using auto-aim, teleporting around the map, and hitting headshots from distances that made no sense. In community discussions, players described getting killed by a gun popping out of the wall, like the wall itself decided to shoot them. And this wasn't just one or two complaints. In multiple discussions, players described cheaters who weren't even obvious about it anymore. Aimbots that looked almost human. Wall hacks that let people walk and shoot through walls like the map didn't exist. One player said they were running into at least one cheater in almost every single match. At a certain point, people got tired of it. Some openly said they were done supporting the game until the hackers were gone. To be fair, the developers did try to respond. The ROS team said publicly that their anti-cheat operation was working on improving the system and reviewing reports. They said their goal was to give players a fair and enjoyable experience. And there were ban waves. At one point, over 217,000 accounts were banned in a single reporting period. But here's the problem with online games, especially free ones. Cheating spreads faster than bans can keep up. A cheater gets banned, makes a new account in 5 minutes, and is back in the lobby before you finish your next match. Players kept losing confidence, and once players don't trust that matches are fair anymore, they leave. Rules of Survival was shut down on June 27, 2022. NetEase announced the closure and cited changes made to the operations of the game, which honestly didn't explain much, but for the players who stuck around until the end, the reason felt pretty clear. The cheaters won. H1Z1. Before PUBG, before Fortnite. There was a game where you dropped into a chaotic map, scrambled for weapons, hopped in random vehicles, and tried to survive against 150 other players who all wanted you dead. For a moment, that game was everything. It felt like the future of online gaming. Then it got hit so hard by cheaters that most people just stopped caring. H1Z1 was one of the first games to show the world how exciting a large-scale survival shooter could really be. It started as a zombie survival game before splitting into two separate games, H1Z1 Just Survive and H1Z1 King of the Kill, the Battle Royale version. At its peak, this game was not small. Players loved the unpredictability of it. But H1Z1 had a serious problem growing underneath all of that excitement. Cheaters. In H1Z1, cheaters ran aimbots, ESP, wall hacks, no recoil cheats, and speed hacks. And in a Battle Royale game, those tools are devastating in a way that's different from other shooters. Because one match isn't 5 minutes. You spend time looting, moving, surviving, making it to the final zones. And then you get killed by someone who already knew exactly where you were hiding the entire time. On Steam community pages, players with hundreds of hours in the game talked about finally quitting because the cheating problem became too predictable. They didn't rage quit after one match. They endured it, believed the developers would fix it, and eventually just got tired. That's the real damage cheaters do. They don't just beat you unfairly. They make loyal players give up. Daybreak tried to fight it. In 2015, they issued a major ban wave. GameSpot reported that 24,837 players were banned for cheating in a single sweep. They warned that cheating could lead to account bans, item losses, and bans from official events. They punished accounts. They tried. But the problem kept growing. And while H1Z1 was fighting its cheating problem, PUBG and Fortnite arrived and gave frustrated players somewhere better to go. H1Z1's player count tells the whole story. PUBG. Before Battle Royale became one of the biggest genres in gaming, PUBG helped bring it into the mainstream. On Steam, PUBG reached an all-time peak of over 3.25 million concurrent players on January 13th, 2018, one of the highest peaks Steam has ever recorded. But with that popularity came a huge problem.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Cheaters. PUBG became one of the most talked about games when it came to cheating, like typical aimbots, wall hacks, ESP, radar hacks, no recoil cheats, speed hacks, teaming, and recoil macros. And that cycle facing one of the biggest problems in free-to-play competitive games today. Hack. Get banned. Make another account. Hack again. Players online have talked about this for years. In one Reddit community discussion from 2025, a player described cheating as a major issue affecting dedicated PUBG players, mentioning aimbots, wall hacks, and the feeling that banned accounts can simply return and repeat the same cycle. The developers knew this problem was serious. Krafton and the PUBG anti-cheat team have repeatedly posted updates about anti-cheat actions. In a 2025 anti-cheat review, PUBG said it had permanently banned about 7.81 million accounts using cheat programs as of November 2025. The same post said PUBG improved real-time monitoring, restructured review procedures, used player reports, blocked cheat-related content, and continued legal action against cheat programs. PUBG also targeted more advanced cheating methods. In September 2025, PUBG said it had strengthened its proprietary anti-cheat solution, Zakynthos, against DMA-based hacks. PUBG reported more than 80,000 permanent bans related to DMA-based hacks, plus over 50,000 additional permanent bans from analysis of bypass attempts. The same update also said more than 50,000 accounts had been permanently banned for software manipulation that reduced or removed recoil. So the developers did not ignore the problem. They banned accounts, they improved detection, they reviewed reports, they tried to make anti-cheat faster and stronger. But cheating is an arms race. That is why many players still complain even after millions of bans. The numbers prove that PUBG is fighting cheaters, but they also prove how large the cheating problem has been. And for ranked players, the frustration can feel even worse. In a Reddit discussion about ranked cheating, players complained about blatant cheaters, temporary bans, stream sniping, and suspicious accounts with extreme stats. One comment claimed they had found cheaters who had been playing for years without being caught. That kind of discussion shows the emotional side of the problem. But despite all of this, PUBG is still alive. Why? Because underneath the cheating problem, PUBG is still one of the most intense battle royale games ever made, and it made survival feel real. But cheaters damaged that feeling by turning every great fight into a question. Was it skill or was it hacks? GTA Online. You spent 3 in-game days grinding for your cargo, carefully running missions, moving product, avoiding other players who might try to destroy everything you worked for. You finally launch your cell mission, and then, out of nowhere, the entire server explodes. Your vehicles are gone, you're dead. You're dead again. An invisible player is teleporting next to you every 5 seconds, and your game crashes. You didn't lose to a better player. You lost to someone with a mod menu who decided your fun wasn't allowed today. GTA Online launched alongside GTA 5 in 2013 and became one of the most played online games of the last decade. It gave players a massive open world, heists, businesses, races, roleplay potential, and an almost endless amount of things to do. Even years after release, millions of players were still logging in regularly, but there was always something lurking in public lobbies.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Modders. At first, some people saw it as funny, spawning random vehicles, making strange things happen, creating chaos, but it got worse. Much worse. Modders started using mod menus to do things that had nothing to do with fun. They could teleport players, trap people in cages, explode everyone in the session, use God mode, crash entire lobbies, mess with other players' money and reputation, make normal missions impossible to finish. In most online games, a cheater ruins one match. In GTA Online, one modder could ruin the entire server. Steam community discussions still show players complaining about public sessions being unplayable, explosions everywhere, vehicles falling from the sky, sessions crashing within minutes of joining. For PC players especially, public lobbies became infamous for exactly this kind of chaos. For years, the biggest criticism was that Rockstar didn't have a strong enough anti-cheat system in place. Players kept asking. Nothing changed for a long time. Then, in September 2024, Rockstar finally integrated BattlEye anti-cheat into GTA Online on PC through Title Update 1.69. Some cheat tools reportedly stopped working after the update. Many players were relieved, but even that solution brought controversy. BattlEye caused GTA Online to become unsupported on Steam Deck and Linux. Legitimate players on those platforms suddenly couldn't access the game's online mode. So Rockstar's fix helped stop some cheaters, but it also affected honest players who just happened to be on a different platform. That's how complicated the cheating problem had become. By the time Rockstar acted, cheating had been part of GTA Online's identity for so long that fixing it created its own set of problems. Team Fortress 2. You join a casual match. Your team picks classes. Someone goes sniper, someone goes heavy. You pick medic because your team needs one. Then the enemy sniper starts getting kills. Every single shot, across the whole map, perfectly, instantly. You check the scoreboard, 6 snipers on the other team, all with the same name as players on your team. None of them are real. They're bots. And your only job now isn't winning the match. It's trying to kick all of them before they headshot your entire team into the ground. Team Fortress 2 was released by Valve in 2007, and somehow in 2024 and beyond, people are still playing it. That alone says something about how special this game is. 9 classes, each with a personality, a cartoon art style that never took itself seriously. Weapons, maps, cosmetics, memes, fan animations, a trading economy, and a community that kept the game breathing even when Valve moved on to other things. TF2 has a kind of love attached to it that most games never earn. But then the bot crisis hit, and it was different from anything most games had dealt with. In other games, cheating usually means individual players using wall hacks or aimbots. In TF2, the problem evolved into something worse. Coordinated bot accounts that flooded casual matchmaking servers, locked into the sniper class, and used aimbot software to instantly headshot real players from anywhere on the map. These weren't players who wanted to win. These were bots designed to ruin games on purpose. They spammed voice chat, they spammed text chat. They copied the names of real players to confuse teams. They abused the vote kick system to make it nearly impossible to remove them. Sometimes both teams would just stop playing the actual game and spend the entire match trying to kick bots and fail. By 2024, the community had enough. They launched the hashtag FixTF2 campaign, petitions, videos, hashtags, and they review bombed TF2 on Steam. not because they hated the game, but because they loved it and wanted it back. Kotaku reported the campaign gathered over 210,000 signatures. Esports.gg reported that TF2 hit overwhelmingly negative recent reviews on Steam, with around 84% negative reviews at the peak of the protest. People bombed a game they love because cheaters turned a beloved classic into a battleground. Valve did respond, ban waves, patches, actions against bot hosters, but many players felt the response was too slow, too quiet, and never permanent enough. Bots would return, new waves would start, the cycle repeated, and yet TF2 didn't die. SteamDB shows the game still pulls tens of thousands of live players and hit an all-time peak of over 253,000 concurrent players in July 2023. For a game released in 2007, that's remarkable. The community refused to let it die, even while fighting the bots. Rust. You spent an entire day farming sulfur, charcoal, and metal. You built your compound. You stocked your tool cupboard. You gathered your team, planned the raid, crafted the rockets, set up the approach, and you executed it perfectly. Then, before you even get back to your base to celebrate, it's gone. Someone knew exactly where your loot room was, exactly where your tool cupboard was, exactly where you were hiding. They didn't guess. They didn't get lucky. They had ESP and they saw everything. Rust is one of the most intense multiplayer survival games ever made. The concept is simple. You wake up on a beach with nothing. You gather resources, build a base, craft weapons, and try to survive. Not just against hunger and wildlife, but against every other player on the server. And that's what makes Rust different. Rust creates moments that other games can't. A successful raid feels incredible. Defending your base under pressure feels personal. Coming back from nothing and rebuilding feels like an actual victory. But Rust has had a cheating problem following it for years. The most complained about cheats in Rust are ESP, aimbots, and recoil scripts. ESP is especially brutal in this game. It lets cheaters see where players are, where loot is, and where bases are located. Recoil scripting is another huge issue. Rust gunfights are heavily dependent on controlling recoil manually. Rust already has a reputation for being brutal and unforgiving. Door camping, offline raiding, 4 a.m. attacks, people screaming in voice chat after losing everything.
You motherfucker. Where'd you find that gun?
Those things are painful, but they're part of Rust's identity. They're the game working as intended. Getting wiped by a cheater doesn't feel like the game. It feels like being robbed. Facepunch Studios, the developers of Rust, uses easy anti-cheat, and their policy is strict. EAC bans are permanent. Ban evasion is not allowed, and detected cheat methods are kept confidential so cheat developers can't use that information. In 2026, Facepunch went further. They announced Easy Anti-Cheat was specifically targeting recoil cheats. They were hiring more anti-cheat staff and developers, and they were planning to add a new third-party anti-cheat layer on top of what already existed. They also revealed they log and record player interactions, gunshots, messages, dropped items, and that suspicious accounts can be reviewed almost like watching replay footage. They're also pushing for TPM and secure boot requirements on servers, making it harder for cheat software to even run before the game starts. Facepunch is fighting the war, but it's still a war. Rust players still complain. Cheat developers keep updating their tools. New methods appear. The arms race doesn't stop. Apex Legends, you're in the final ring. 3 squads left. Your team is coordinated, your positioning is good, and you're ready to make your move. Then, an enemy player snaps to your head from across the ring in a way that no human hand could have done that fast. Your teammates go down just as quickly. You check afterward. Reports, nothing happens. Next match, same thing. That's Apex with a cheating problem. Apex Legends was released by Respawn Entertainment in 2019, and it immediately stood out. Instead of just dropping into a map and grabbing guns, Apex added something different. Unique characters called Legends, each with their own abilities. Some could scan enemies, some could heal teammates, some could create portals or throw shields. The game became famous for its movement, its gunplay, its teamwork, and the kind of clutch moments that made people clip everything. When Apex is at its best, it feels completely fair. Every fight feels like it can be won or lost on skill, positioning, and teamwork. On Steam alone, Apex hit an all-time peak of 624,473 concurrent players in February 2023. And that doesn't even count PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, or EA app users. But the cheating problem never fully went away. In Apex, cheating shows up in a lot of forms. Aimbots, wall hacks, soft aim, which is harder to spot because it mimics natural-looking aim, recoil scripts, Cronus-style hardware devices, macros. Players on Steam forums described their 2025 ranked experience with a list that included aimbots, recoil devices, wall hacks, map hacks, and soft aim, and noted that not all cheaters are obvious, which is the worst part. In March 2024, during the Apex Legends Global Series, the biggest stage in professional Apex, players were hacked mid-tournament. Not accused of cheating, actually hacked. Players were suddenly given aimbots and wall hacks in real time while competing. Respawn confirmed the incident and paused the competition. That moment hurt, because this wasn't a random ranked lobby. This was professional play, watched by thousands of fans. In 2024, they even removed Linux and Steam Deck support for Apex Legends, citing Linux-based cheats as increasingly difficult to detect and prevent. They were willing to cut off an entire group of legitimate players to make the game harder for cheat developers. That's how serious the problem became. Apex was not destroyed by cheaters. The game is still one of the best battle royales ever made. But every suspicious fight leaves a scar, and those scars have added up over the years. Call of Duty Warzone. You've been playing for 40 minutes. You looted smart, you rotated well, you won your gulag, you bought back a teammate, and now you're in the final circle with a chance to win. Then someone who knew exactly where you were the entire match shoots you through a building. 40 minutes? Gone. And that player? They'll be in another lobby doing the same thing in 3 minutes. Welcome to Warzone. Call of Duty Warzone launched in March 2020 as a free-to-play battle royale, and it became massive almost immediately. Up to 150 players dropping into Verdansk, looting, fighting, surviving the gas, and competing for the win. It combined the fast gunplay Call of Duty was known for with the pressure of battle royale survival. By April 2021, Activision announced Warzone had passed 100 million players, just over a year after launch. For many people, Warzone wasn't just a mode, it was the game. Verdansk became iconic. Rebirth Island became a fan favorite. Streamers, YouTubers, casual players, competitive players, everyone was there. The game created moments people still talk about. Last-second revives, gulag clutches, rooftop sniper battles, final circle squad wipes. But while Warzone was growing, the cheating problem was growing with it. Aimbots, wall hacks, radar cheats, unlock tools, recoil scripts. Players complained about all of it. And in Warzone, cheating hits harder than in most games. One cheater in the final circle can destroy an entire lobby. One squad with wall hacks can wipe teams before anyone knows what happened. And because matches can take a long time, losing to a cheater feels like wasted time in a way that's personal. The problem became so well documented that gaming articles regularly listed Warzone among the worst games for cheating. On Reddit, Steam, and gaming communities, players repeatedly described the same experience. Matches that felt pointless, suspicion after every death, the feeling that it wasn't worth playing anymore. And free-to-play made it worse. A cheater gets banned, they make another account, and they're back. Simple bans alone weren't going to work, so Activision introduced Ricochet Anti-Cheat, a major initiative that uses server-side tools, analytics, detection systems, mitigation techniques, and a kernel-level PC driver that monitors software trying to interact with the game while it's running. The kernel driver was important because many modern cheats run deep inside a computer. Going that level deep was a serious commitment,